Welcome to The Culture. We rest at the pulse of the community, providing all things news, music, fashion, events, and everything that we talk about in between. It's a lifestyle. We are The Culture.
Thanks for tuning in. Today's show is brought to you by New Florida Majority. This election, vote early. No lines, less contact, lower risk. Go to floridawill.vote to find a polling location closest to you. Hi, and welcome to the show. It's another edition of The Culture. I'm your host, Jessica Garrett Modkins, and joining us tonight is Commissioner Daniella Levine Cava. She is the Commissioner for District 8 for Miami-Dade County Board of Commissioners. Welcome to the show.
I'm so happy to be with you, Jessica. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Commissioner Cava, I can only go back in my mind to years ago when I had the first opportunity of meeting you, and you laid out what you had planned on doing as commissioner, and you have actually just succeeded in doing all of those things, and you have now set forth to be Miami-Dade County's next mayor. What made you even decide to do that?
Jessica, when I see something that needs to be done, I feel I must step up and do it. And in this case, I love this place so much, and I know that we have such big challenges. I did not see others that were ready to take them on in the way that I thought needed to be addressed. So I had to step up and do it. And, I thought that I could run a successful campaign. I hoped I could. And of course, I always work as hard as I possibly can. And so here we are 11 days away.
Yes, we are. So my viewers are primarily interested in, if you are elected as mayor, how you will be able to help them. Let's start off with being a Black small business owner. What are some of your plans?
I have been very fortunate that in my time as commissioner, I've been able to create a small business incubator. It's called Accelerate South Dade, also a small business academy, a nonprofit academy. And I have been able to bring mentoring services, back office, marketing help, shared office space, everything that can really help a small business move along, plus access to capital. We've actually been able to bring investors to the table as well. So I'm going to take that model countywide through my Office of Equity and Inclusion, which will focus on the disparities that have plagued our communities. We definitely know that in the Black community, entrepreneurship is a key part of the economic equation. The jobs that are available don't pay well enough to provide for the cost of living, which is so high here in Miami-Dade County. We do have brain drain, Black flight. We need to keep people here. We need to celebrate our history, our culture, those who've helped build up this great place. And we just can't afford to let our young people go, our young professionals that want to see better opportunities. So we have to double down and provide that help to our small businesses, as well help our young people to get internships, apprenticeships, to get into better paid jobs. And we have to build infrastructure. Infrastructure is going to be our way to build out of this recession. Housing starts, transportation starts, water and sewer infrastructure, septic to sewer. These are all good jobs, locally based for skilled labor, and we can definitely move the needle, create more of these projects, hopefully with federal support that will come down the pike with a new administration, and we will be able to cut the red tape and move these projects forward more quickly.
And so you would be, for small businesses specifically, looking at utilizing the blueprint that you have already created and going
Yes.
county-wide with that, and then providing additional funding to assist
Yes.
some of
Yes,
those.
definitely. It's proven very successful. Just one example, a solar installer who started with 5 people out of his garage. He's up to 65 employees. He credits our accelerator with that success. Um, by the way, the small business enterprise program that we have in the county is going to have to move towards a more race-based programming. We have the disparity study that was done a few years ago, and now we're moving forward finally, the next step Chairwoman Edmondson, Commissioner Jordan, and I signed on as co-sponsor. We're going to move forward, and we're going to do race-based contracting with the county as well. Also, at the airport, we have a program where the bigger contractor has to provide subcontracts to the smaller vendors. We need to do that in other parts of the county to help bring in the small business entrepreneur and help them build their capacity. And then they can grow into being more independent and doing bigger jobs. So that's definitely the path that I see to
So
help our small businesses grow.
So interesting. So that initiative was just something recent, I guess, that you were speaking about with Jordan and Edmondson, and
Yes.
allowing it to be race.
Yes.
Tell me a little more about that, because I know that
Yeah.
even in a discussion that I just had earlier this week in regards to set asides and there not being anything that could be
Right.
labeled race as the indicative factor in that. What would that
Yes.
entail?
So as I understand it, because it predates me, back in the day, we had particular race-based approaches, affirmative action, if you will. And then it was challenged legally, and the court found that the county could not continue to implement that. And instead, the small business enterprise system was created, and that benefits all small businesses, regardless of ethnic, racial background. But there was a disparity study done that proved that there were real disparities, and that then formed the legal basis to go back to race conscious contracting. So, to move forward on that study, which was several years old, required a next step, and it's taken the few years. It was legislation that was held by the chairwoman. So she took the step just recently. We just finished a board meeting, but at the board meeting prior to that, she brought forward the legislation to engage the consultant who will be able to help us design moving forward with race conscious contracting.
Wow, you all have been busy in these last few weeks, and
Yeah.
we appreciate
Yes,
that.
indeed.
So let's go and shift gears a little and talk about your plan for underserved communities. Do you have a specific plan in place that will
Yes,
address that?
I do. So I have a program called Empower. It's my program to deal with the Black community broadly, and it's an acronym, EMPOWER, Empower. So each of the letters stands for something that we're moving forward, and specifically, it deals with entrepreneurship, particularly in the Black community, and I talked a little bit about that already. It also deals with major investments in underserved neighborhoods. So that includes infrastructure, parks, roads, making sure that these communities look well and function well, that they're not the stepchildren for government investment. It also includes police accountability and reforms so that our policing is community-based and building trust in neighborhoods. That's very important. Also, opportunities to collaborate with community organizations, because we know nonprofits and faith-based organizations are really the backbone often of neighborhoods, and identifying the needs and working directly with individuals who need help accessing programs and services. Also, it would be the summer jobs program for our young people to make sure to give them that leg up. My Office of Equity and Inclusion, that's part of the Empower initiative. And finally, investing in homeownership programs. We know that homeownership is a critical part of building wealth, building equity. We know, unfortunately, that the Black community has a huge wealth gap, not only income gap. And whenever there's a recession like we're going through now, people lose those savings. So we have to really build back very consciously, make sure that these new homeownership programs we're putting in place, a $50 million program that we've just adopted, and the ways that I'm going to cut production time for homes that people can afford, increase the subsidy, all of that to make it more possible for people to get into homeownership, which is, as I say, a critical part of building savings.
Can you touch on that $50 million program that you just mentioned?
Yeah. So we have the surtax program in Miami-Dade County. It's a percentage of all the real estate filings. And unfortunately, it was created with the state legislature, and a percentage of it goes to homeownership, a percent to rental. And it's been hard to spend the homeownership component because the price of homes is so high. It's hard to get people, it's hard to find homes that people can afford that are in that income range. So we've been pushing our housing department to come up with other creative ways to make it accessible for people, including using more of it for the subsidy. We also need to bring down more state dollars. There's a Sadowski Act that has been diverted state funding to other purposes away from housing, so we have to fix that. But there's been big pressure to move some of it to rental. And by the way, my opponent supported that, moving that money from homeownership to rental programs. But that was not the answer, because we need to double down on homeownership. So finally, our housing department came up with an additional program that will create more subsidy, $50 million. And I'm very hopeful. It's just a brand new program. I'm very hopeful that that will help us move more people into home ownership. We're going to increase the subsidy so that more people can find homes that they can actually afford.
Okay, okay. And you mentioned your opponent, Bovo. You all typically disagree on police, and there is this big misnomer about what the
Yes.
definition of defunding the police department means. And I would like for you to be able to have an opportunity to explain that in
Yeah.
your words and what that means to you.
Yes, thank you. So in actual fact, we only differ on the independent civilian panel. So that is something that I supported. He did not. It's an independent review for the community to bring complaints forward in a place that they feel will review their concerns and not brush them aside. That's independent and can investigate and help resolve those concerns. And I believe that this will be a great step forward. It was finally approved and moved forward in this year's budget. That will help build trust with communities that are lacking trust because of the history with police that's not been so positive. So he opposed it. I supported it. The union made it clear to me that that would be a dividing line, that they could not endorse me if I supported that. But other than that, they've always supported me. They supported my first election, my reelection campaign, and to say that I had defunded, that I have and I would defund police is just a total lie, because I voted every single year for increases in the police budget. I've never questioned that. In fact, I've lobbied for more, public safety clearly being number one issue for government services. And I've pushed for 80 more officers in South Dade, my area, because of the growth and the lack of adequate police protection. I was sponsoring a new police district station in South Dade, again in my district, because of the growing need. I've pushed for more dollars for community policing, special investigative units, and I've worked very closely with our police in every regard. So basically, this defunding police label is something that is actually being said nationwide indiscriminately to try to create fear in the post George Floyd era. So drumming up this worry that that we would be without police protection in the midst of a Black Lives Matter movement that might overwhelm and create discord in a community. And you and I know that there were hundreds of thousands of peaceful people marching in the streets. And of course, there were a few people who took advantage of it. And fortunately, in our case, in Miami-Dade County, we had minimal disruption. But that is what is being said. They're trying to lump me in with that movement. So it could not be further from the truth. I'm big fans of our county police department that does an excellent job. We need to support their training, particularly. They have state-of-the-art training on bias reduction, on improved decision-making skills. 2 years ago, they upgraded their training, and I think it's a national model.
And there was another interview that you did, and there was a discussion about pastors not speaking for the community. Can you touch on that? Do you remember that comment that has kind of
Yes,
gone
yes.
array? Can you explain what you meant by that?
No, I say that pastors do speak for the community. So what happened was that it was about the incorporation issue in South Dade, where there had been only negative comments received, no public participation until the day of the actual vote when a group of pastors came and spoke in favor. Very difficult situation because obviously they do speak for their community, and it's very hard to participate in local government. People have to take time off from work, all of that. But it was a very difficult situation because there had been no other, public outcry. We received thousands of contacts from people opposing incorporation in that case. So what I was saying is that the pastors, we hope, in the next round would come forward also with more people who and earlier in the process,
Mm-hmm.
so that we could, fully see the support that was there in the community. And obviously, they spoke for their congregations, which is so important.
Well, thank you for clearing that up. And before we go, are there any closing thoughts that you would like to ensure that our viewers know?
Well, I'm very, very excited and proud to be running to serve as mayor of Miami-Dade County. I have 40 years in the community addressing issues of equality, opportunity, disparities, creating a level playing field, better educational opportunities for our children, better access to housing, jobs, safe neighborhoods. This has been my entire career. I'm very excited that as mayor, I will be able to put to work my lifetime commitment to a much greater extent. It will be an opportunity, especially in a pandemic and in a post George Floyd world, to turn those crises into opportunities that will truly lift up communities that have been left behind. This has been my passion. This has been my life. I'm so very honored to have received endorsement of the largest group of Black pastors ever to have jointly endorsed in the history of elections that I've ever heard, as well as support from many other African American organizations and individuals, many elected officials, including Senator Brannan, Congresswoman Wilson, Commissioner Jordan, Commissioner Moss, Chairwoman Edmondson. I've been so very honored to have received also endorsements from the Black Caucus of the Democratic Party and many other groups. So I've worked hard. I have told everyone that once I'm elected, their jobs are not done. I need them by my side so that we can continue to work to achieve the reforms that are needed to truly achieve a more equitable and just community for all. So I'm hopeful to have everyone's support. I'm number 81 on the ballot, and I promise to work harder than ever to get everything right as an independent, transparent, honest person with a legacy of community service. So thank you so very much, Jessica, for the opportunity to speak with you tonight.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for taking time out to speak to myself as well as our viewers who would love to be informed because early voting has already started. And so it's a pleasure to hear the things that your campaign stands on directly from you. So thank you once again for joining us, and thank you to The Culture for joining us for another edition. We look forward to seeing you tonight for My 2 Cents starting at 6 p.m. And as always, you can catch us right here on theculture.xyz. We'll see you next time.
The Culture is produced and owned by Hip Rock Star Media and cannot be reproduced or broadcast without written consent by Jessica Garrett Modkins. All rights reserved 2020.